Good morning. This is Dr. R. Kamanamigeshwari, Associate Professor from Department of Industrial Biotechnology. And now I'm going to discuss on the topic animal cell culture. Before entering into the topic animal cell culture, let me recapitulate about animal cell. The animal cell is an eukaryotic cell which lacks the cell wall. It comprises only of cell membrane and it has a true membrane bound nucleus. It has a true nucleus it's because it has been membrane bound, and it consists of many different organelles which perform vital function like rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, Golgi apparatus, centrioles, peroxisomes, lysosomes, etc. And all these different organelles perform many different functions which are necessary for the metabolism of a cell. Coming to animal cell culture, it is defined as a process of cultivating the cells and tissues outside the body of an organism under in vitro condition in an artificial environment. While we culture the cell in an outside environment, say in an artificial environment, we have to mimic, or it has the cell that has been cultured in the in vitro environment have to be mimicked with the in vivo condition like temperature, nutrition, and protection from microorganisms. So if we culturing the cell in an artificial environment under in vitro condition in the laboratory, the cell have to the cell has to be provided with various it has to be provided with various optimal environment like temperature, nutrition, as well as it has to be protected from many contaminants that has the ability to contaminate the cell. So culturing the cell in an artificial environment, of course, it's a very challenging task. And this challenging task was first successfully undertaken by Ross Harrison in the year 1907, and earlier to him, Ross in the year 1885 has been credited he was the first person who maintained the embryonic chick cells in a cell culture. The major development in cell culture technology has been attained by the use of many different chemicals and components, some molecular components, and those components or the usage of antibiotics inhibited the growth of contaminants, which has taken the animal cell culture to a developing technology because the cells are often prone to get contaminated, and while we use antibiotics in the medium, the contamination can be highly reduced, which in turn made the animal cell culture technology a successful one. And moreover, the usage of trypsin to remove the adherent cells that has been cultured on the solid medium is also useful. Like cells are excavated from the medium without much damage. The usage of trypsin, of course, it is highly essential, or it is much useful for removing the adherent cells from the medium without damaging the cells. And third, the usage of the chemically defined culture medium is often helpful for this animal cell culture technology. And we have certain terminologies to be followed in animal cell culture. We'll see one by one. First one is about primary cell culture. When the cells are surgically removed from an organism, and if we place the cell under in vitro condition for culturing them, then they'll attach to the medium, they'll grow, they'll divide, and they'll proliferate. Such cells are said to be, or the technology that has been adopted for culturing those cells is said to be primary cell culture. And coming to cell lines, once this primary cell culture has been subcultured, then of course it results in cell line, which is due to the secondary cell culture, which we call the process as secondary cell culture. And once the primary culture has been subcultured, we'll get the cell line, and they show an ability to continuously propagate. And next is about anchorage dependent cells. Generally, the anchorage dependent cells will grow as monolayer on the solid medium, adhering to the substrate. Either if we use glass or else if we use plastic container for culturing these cells, the cell will form as a monolayer on the substrate, and those types of cells which adhere to the substrate or adhere to the medium in which they grow are said to be anchorage dependent cells. Next, we have a term like passaging or subculturing. Both are same. It just means the number of generations that the cell has been passaged. the number of generations that the cell line has been passaged is said to be passaging or subculturing. It is said to be the process of splitting the cells. And the cell line are of two different types, say finite cell line and continuous cell line. The finite cell line will have a finite lifespan. They'll have a determined lifespan. After that, the cell will attain its senescence. In case of continuous cell line, the cell line or the cells that has been grown in continuous cell line will grow indefinitely. They will have indefinite lifespan. This is just a schematic representation for establishing a tissue culture laboratory. So if people are interested in designing a tissue culture laboratory, then they can go through this representation, and it just gives an idea where to keep the equipments and what are the things that are necessary for establishing a tissue culture laboratory. Like if at all we have a tissue culture laboratory, then of course we'll be having a microscopic room, a quarantine room, and hot room, a cold room, and of course we'll be having freezers, and service area should be there, and storage room should be there, and aseptic area which should be maintained, and it has to be sterilized properly. The specific area for keeping the instruments like centrifuge, freezer, incubator. So everything this representation will give you a this will give you an idea about designing the tissue culture laboratory uh, in a in a perfect way. And now this is about the equipment that are necessary for tissue culture laboratory. Of course, we need a laminar cabinet where set to be the working area for to work in a very sterile environment. So vertical laminar airflow are often preferable. They are fitted with the HEPA filter, and of course the UV lamp will be attached with them. So the HEPA filter, of course, it stands for high efficiency particulate air filter, where the sterile air will pass through the chamber, and it provides a sterile environment to work with animal cells. And incubation facilities, as far as incubation facilities is concerned, the CO2 incubator is highly essential, and the temperature should be maintained at 37 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity is about should be about say 99%. And refrigerator, it is at most essential. The liquid media should be kept at 4 degrees Celsius, and enzymes and all, example trypsin, and many different media components like glutamine, serum, everything has to be stored at minus 20 degrees Celsius. And coming to microscope, obviously we need an inverted microscope for inferring the or for observing the animal cells, and the inverted microscope has to be provided with say 10x to 100x magnification power. And tissue culture where the culture vessels have to be treated by polystyrene, and those tissue culture ware have to be highly sterilized and have to be kept in an aseptic environment. Coming to cell culture, it is a process by which the cells are grown under a particular controlled condition, generally outside of their natural environment. We'll be removing the cells from the in vivo environment, and we'll be maintaining them in an in vitro environment. So this is said to be the cell culture, and the tissue or cell culture is the general term for the removal of tissues or organs from an animal or a plant, and they are subsequently placed in an artificial environment for establishing their growth. And this is a process to culture the cell. First, if at all we have planned to go for animal cell culture, then we have to harvest the cell from the organism. So the harvesting the cell can be attained by the use of appropriate enzyme. The tissue of the interest have to be first incubated with the proper enzyme, so that the cells are obtained from the particular tissues. And you have to isolate the tissue with the use of appropriate enzyme, And the isolated cells have to be plated in a perfect growth medium, especially in the culture dish. And here the culture dish, the growth medium, everything have to be sterilized. And culture cells, you can culture the cells that has been withdrawn from the tissue by placing them in the culture dish. And you have to keep the culture dish in the cell in a incubator. Then you can go for subculturing after the cells has attained its growth. And the cultured cells are of or of the cell type of interest. So we can examine the cells that has been cultured or the cell type of our interest, and they are ready to be manipulated or modified for further experiments. Coming to animal cell culture, it is the in vitro cultivation of animal organs, cells, and tissues at defined temperature by using an incubator, and supplemented with the medium containing various nutrients that are essential for the cell to grow. And the growth factors, the nutrients that are supplied in the medium should be combined with the growth factor which is necessary for the cell. And the cell will continue to grow in the medium, and it will proliferate in the medium only if it is supplied with the appropriate nutrients, as well as if it is maintained at optimum temperature, as well as various optimal conditions. And the culture process allows the single process to act as an independent unit. And here the cell has to divide and has to proliferate. And the medium that are supplied to the cell have to be enriched with various vital nutrients like fat and fat soluble components. The fatty acids and cholesterol are highly essential, since because they serve as a precursor for many of the hormones. And of course, antibiotics have to be added, since because it can prevent the growth of contaminants, which can easily contaminate the cells that are grown in the medium. And of course, growth factors and hormones are highly essential for the continuous proliferation and differentiation of the cell. And oxygen and CO2 concentration have to be maintained such that the osmotic has to be reached. The physical environment includes the optimum pH, the temperature, osmolality, and gaseous environment, which supports the cell for attaining its perfect growth. And various chemical, physical, and mechanical stresses have to be have to be it should not be the cell has should not undergo any stresses in different forms like chemical, physical, and mechanical. The CO2 incubators are used, and they are designed to mimic the environmental condition of the living cell. And of course, we have seen in earlier slide, like the animal cell culture needs an equipment called inverted microscope, so as to visualize the cell culture, and in order to observe the cell pattern especially. And for most animal cell cultures, low speed centrifuges are highly essential, since because the cells are often prone for shear stress once they just if they are allowed to get centrifuge in high speed centrifuges. And cryopreservation, of course, it is essential for storing the cells at a very low temperature, say at minus 196 degrees Celsius, using liquid hydrogen. And while we cryopreserve the cell, of course, DMSO has to be added, which serves as a cryopreservative molecule, which prevents the damage to the cell. So if at all we are preserving the cell in cryopreservation by incubating them at a very low temperature using liquid nitrogen, then this dimethyl sulfoxide has to be added as a cryoprotectant in order to prevent the cells from damage. These cryoprotectant will prevent the cell from getting damaged, since because the cell has been exposed to much lower temperature. So serum, of course, it is essential for animal cell culture, which contains many different growth factors, which promotes the cell proliferation. And the media that is used for animal cell culture vary in their complexity, and it purely depends upon the type of the cell which we are employing for animal cell culture. And generally, the animal cell culture media will contain amino acids in the concentration of about, say, zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2 millimolar. and vitamins have to be supplied, and salts like NaCl, KCl, and calcium chloride have to be supplied in the appropriate ratio. For example, if you are adding the sodium chloride in the medium, then of course its concentration can be like 150 millimolar. And if at all you are providing, say, potassium chloride, then of course it should be about 4 to 6 millimolar. And if you are supplying calcium chloride, it should be about 1 millimolar. So likewise, the optimal salt concentration will vary depending upon the salt, as well as will vary depending upon the animal cell type which we are culturing. And glucose, of course, it has to be supplied at the concentration of 5 to 10 millimolar. Coming to the characteristics of the cells that has to be grown in cell culture, if we are going for, say, anchorage dependent cells, then of course it needs special equipments for being cultured. And generally, the animal cells can grow in simple glass or plastic containers, which is supplied with the nutritive medium, which contains the many different vital components, as we have discussed in the earlier slide. And generally, they grow only to a limited generations. And the maintenance of growth of the cells under laboratory condition is suitable. In suitable culture medium is said to be primary cell culture. So once we harvest the cell from the tissue, and if we allow the growth of the tissue in a particular medium, then of course it is said to be a primary cell culture. And the cells that has been grown as a primary cell culture can even be grown as adherent cells. Usually, the adherent cells are anchorage dependent, and they must be cut while attached to a solid or a semi-solid substrate. And if the cells that has been grown in primary cell culture, if at all it is established as a suspension culture, then of course they are said to be anchorage independent cell, and they can be grown as those cells that are floating in the culture medium. The primary culture is then subcultured in fresh media to establish as a secondary culture. And the cells are dissociated from tissues by mechanical means and by enzymatic digestion using proteolytic enzymes. So if we take a tissue and we can go for like mechanical method of disrupting the tissue, or else we can go for enzymatic method of disrupting the tissue so as to harvest the individual cells. So coming to the cell line, as we have discussed, we have two different types of cell line, like a finite cell line and continuous cell line. And normal cells usually divide only for a limited number of times before losing their ability to proliferate, which is genetically determined event, which is known as senescence. So these cell lines are known as finite cell line. This is the normal characteristic feature of an animal cell. So some cell lines, that means some finite cell line, may become immortal through a process called transformation, which can occur spontaneously or can be chemically or virally induced. So when a finite cell line undergoes transformation and acquires the ability to divide indefinitely, then of course it becomes a continuous cell line. So generally, the characteristic of an animal cell is like they can go for only finite cell line, and once this finite cell line has been transformed either spontaneously or else artificially, then of course they become a continuous cell line. And these continuous cell line has the ability to divide indefinitely, and of course they can establish immortality. So this is just the representation of an animal cell culture. So from the animal, the tissue can be excised, and the tissue can be disintegrated so that the individual cells can be isolated, and the isolated cells can be established as a primary culture, can be grown as a primary culture. And from the primary culture, the secondary culture can be done, and through the process of subculturing it. And while we subculture, we will have a cell line from it, and of course they are said to be finite cell line, and this finite cell line can be stored, and again they can pass through many different number of passages or subculturing. And this cell line, they can be transformed, and they can be formed as, or they can give a continuous cell line. And this continuous cell line, of course, they have infinite lifespan, and they can also be stored, and they can also be subcultured for many number of generations. Coming to the culture media that are established for animal cell culture, You have two different types of cultural media like natural media and artificial media. The type of medium generally depends upon the type of cells that can be subculture, and basically it depends upon the objective of subculturing the cells. But generally, the animal tissue culture media can be of two different types. One is natural, the other one is artificial. Next, these media consist of naturally occurring biological fluids. For example, if you go for natural media, then of course it consists of it consists of naturally occurring biological fluids and are of following three types, say clots, biological fluids, and tissue extract. So all these three different types of uh, natural media has the ability to procure the cells that has been grown on them. Coming to clots, they are often called as plasma clots, which have been in use for a very long time. And plasma is now commercially available in a liquid state, and they can be prepared in the laboratory also. So this plasma clot, of course, it is one of the most commonly used animal cell culture media. And next is about the biological fluids, and various biological fluids can be used as a culture medium. For example, the amniotic fluid, the aqueous humoral fluid from eye, and the insect hemolymph serum, etc. And among them, the serum is one of the most widely used medium, natural media. And coming to primary culture and cell line, primary culture generally refers to the starting culture of cells, tissues, or organs which are taken directly from an organism. And it is a cleaning initial culture before the first subculture. Once we excise the tissue and we disintegrate the tissue, and if we isolate the tissue, and if we plate the tissue, then of course we end up with a primary culture. So this is the initial culture from which the subculture has been done. So cell line is used for propagation of culture after the first subculture. And primary cultures are usually preferred from large tissue masses, since because from the disaggregation of tissue, we'll end up with single cells. Therefore, it may contain a variety of differentiated cells like fibroblasts, lymphocytes, macrophages, and sometimes epithelial cells also. Coming to the characteristics of primary culture, generally the embryonic tissues rather than adult tissues are preferred for primary culture, since because the embryonic tissue it consists of much undifferentiated cells. So as the cells can be easily disaggregated and yield more viable cells, the embryonic tissues are often preferred than adult tissues. The disaggregation will also be very easy, and of course the cells will be of undifferentiated type, and they do have the ability to proliferate rapidly under in vitro condition. And the quantity of the cells that are used in primary culture should be higher, since because the survival rate as far as animal cell culture is lower, and hence I just put a word in the beginning of the presentation like it's a very challenging task. Animal cell culture, of course, it's a very challenging task, since because the survival rate of the cell is of course lower, and hence the quantity of the cell that has to be kept in primary culture should be higher. Mm. So the tissues should be processed with minimum damage to the cell for use in primary culture. So once the tissue, while we excise the tissue from the animal, if at all the tissue has been damaged a lot, then of course the survival rate go below average. It is much lower. So while we excise the tissue from the animal, then of course we should be very careful, like the tissue that we are excising should not be damaged a lot. And proper selection of the media is suggested, and generally much of the natural medium that we have discussed in the earlier slide are preferable for animal primary cell culture. And it is necessary to remove the enzymes used for disaggregation of cells by centrifugation. So after we incubate the tissue in enzyme, after perfect incubation time, it is necessary to remove the enzyme that we are used for disaggregating the tissue by centrifugation. So before primary cell culture, we have to make sure that we have only cells not with the enzyme that we have used for disaggregating it. And coming to the techniques for primary cell culture, we have three different methods like mechanical disaggregation, enzymatic disaggregation, and primary explant technique. In case of mechanical disaggregation, the soft tissues like spleen, brain, embryonic liver, and soft tumor can be subjected to mechanical disaggregation. So it involves careful chopping or slicing of tissue into pieces and collection of those spill-out cells. And these cells are collected by any one of the following method, like pressing the tissue pieces through a series of seals, which with the gradual reduction in the mesh size, so that the tissue pieces or the cells that has been collected has been passed through this seals, and forcing the tissue fragment through a syringe and needle, like you can disaggregate it with much less damage to the tissue. Coming to enzymatic disruption, it is the most commonly used technique while we end up with the high recovery of cells from the tissue. The enzymatic disaggregation can be carried out by using many different enzymes like trypsin, collagenase, and some more important vital enzymes also. And the term trypsinization is commonly used for disaggregation by trypsin. So if you use trypsin for enzymatically disaggregating the tissue, then of course the process is said to be trypsinization. And two different types of trypsinization can be done for the tissue. One is warm trypsinization, the other one is cold trypsinization. And collagenase disaggregation has been successfully used for many different tissue samples like human brain, lung, and for several other epithelial tissues also. And besides various human tumors and other animal tissues. In addition of another enzyme called hyaluronidase and addition of trypsin will also promote the disaggregation to a larger extent. It gives less damage to the tissue, thereby it promotes the withdrawal of cells in a high ratio. And next, coming to primary explant technique, the tissue in basal salt solution is finely chopped and it is washed by settling, by allowing it to settle. And the basal salt solution is then removed, of course, through centrifugation process. And the tissue pieces are spread evenly over the grow surface. And after addition of appropriate medium, the incubation is carried out for about 3 to 5 days. So then the medium is changed at weekly intervals until substantial growth of cell is observed. And now these explants are removed and they were transferred to a fresh culture vessel. Coming to cell lines, the term cell line refers to the propagation of culture after the first subculture has been done. And in other words, once the primary subculture, once the primary culture has been subcultured, of course, it becomes the cell line. And a given cell line contains several cell lineages of similar phenotype or else of with distinct phenotypes. And it is possible to select a particular cell lineage by cloning, or else we can go for physical cell separation by observing them under microscope or by some other selection method also. And such a cell line that is derived by selecting or cloning a particular cell is said to be cell strain. And this is the difference between finite cell line and continuous cell line. When we compare the property like growth rate, the finite cell line will have slow growth rate, whereas the continuous cell line will have fast growth rate. And coming to the mode of growth, the finite cell line will establish a monolayer growth, whereas the continuous cell line will establish a suspension growth. And it may be a monolayer, it may attain sometimes monolayer growth also. Coming to the yield, the finite cell line, of course, it is of low yield, whereas the continuous cell line is of high yield. And likewise, the transformation, of course, the transformation is not done for finite cell line, and hence the lifespan of the cell line is finite, whereas the continuous cell line will have immortality because it has been transformed. And coming to anchorage dependency, generally the finite cell line or anchorage dependent cell, whereas the continuous cell line or of suspension cell line. That means they will generally prefer suspension medium. And The contact inhibition, of course, is there for finite cell line and it is not there for continuous cell line. And the cloning efficiency as far as finite cell line, it is low, since because the continuous cell line has immortality. The cloning efficiency is high for continuous cell line. And serum requirement, while we analyze the serum requirement for finite cell line and continuous cell line, both cell lines will require serum. And coming to markers, the finite cell line will have tissue-specific marker, whereas the continuous cell line will have chromosomal, antigenic, or enzymatic markers. Coming to the organ culture, if we go for in vitro culture of organ, then of course it is said to be organ culture, and the parenchyma and stoma are preserved both in terms of their structure and function, so that culturing the organ resembles closely with the organ in vivo, which is said to be the organ culture. And these are the techniques of organ culture. Like the techniques are said to be the following are some of the techniques of organ culture: plasma clot or watch glass method, RAF method, and the combination of both plasma clot and RAF method, and agar gel method, grid method, and cyclic exposure to medium and gas phase. So these are some of the techniques which is adopted for organ culture. Coming to the plasma clot or watch glass method, the explant is placed and it is cultured on suitably prepared plasma clot, which is kept in watch glass. And generally, the plasma clot is prepared by mixing 3 drops of chicken plasma and 1 drop of chick embryo extract. And one or two such watch glasses are kept in the petri dishes, which is lined with cotton wool or moist filter paper in order to minimize the evaporation of the clot. So the clot should not be dehydrated. So in order to minimize the evaporation, the moist filter paper has been kept around them, and they may be or may not be closed with this lid. And the petri dish has to be incubated at 37.5 degrees Celsius. Generally, they are incubated in CO2 incubator, and the fresh clots have been provided every 2 to 3 days for avian tissues and every 3 to 4 days for mammalian tissues. And this is a representation which we have discussed in the earlier slide. And coming to the advantages of this method, it is very inexpensive and it permits the light microscope to visualize the cells, and hence it is suitable to study hair growth, fetal mouse skin differentiation, etc. And coming to the disadvantage, the clot liquefies in vicinity of explants, so explant may become immersed in the medium. So the short duration of culture is also allowed, like which is less than 4 weeks, and the biochemical analysis is not possible due to the complexity of the medium. This is about the raft method. So in this method, the explants are placed on the raft of the glass, lens or paper, or sometimes on rayon acetate also, which is then floated on the serum in the watch glass. And 4 or more explants are placed on single raft, and the floatability of lens paper or rayon acetate is enhanced by its treatment with the silicone. And next is about the combination method. So in this method, the explants are first placed on the raft of the glass or suitable medium, then they are placed on the plasma clot. So this prevents sinking of the explant into liquefied plasma. This is about the agar gel method. So in this method, the agar medium that has been prepared, medium is prepared with gelling of agar, which contains about 1% of agar. The gels are then kept in embryological watch glass, and the explant is then transferred on the surface of the agar, which is going to be sealed with paraffin wax. And then they are subcultured into fresh agar gels for every 5 to 7 days. And the explants can be examined with stereoscopic microscope, and the technique is used to study many developmental aspects of normal organs as well as tumor cells also. So this is the presentation for agar gel method, which we have discussed in the earlier slide. Coming to grid method, it utilizes 25 millimeter into 25 millimeter pieces of suitable wire mesh, or perforated stainless steel sheet, and on them on the grid the soft tissues are first kept and are first kept on the raft and then on the grid. So the grid is kept in a culture chamber which is already filled with the fluid medium, and the chamber is flushed with oxygen or CO2 to maintain the required oxygen concentration. It is used to study the growth and differentiation of adult tissues as well as embryonic tissues. Next is about the types of subculture, types of cell culture. So here the cell culture is classified into three. One is said to be the primary cell culture, where the adherent cell culture or suspension cell culture can be established. And once the primary cell culture has been subcultured, then of course it results in secondary cell culture, which leads to the formation of cell line like a finite cell line and continuous cell line. Finite life cell line will have a limited lifespan, and the continuous cell line will have immortal lifespan.